Happy New Year, everyone. What if I told you an open source model just beat Claude Sonnet 4.5 and GPT 5.2 at coding and almost nobody noticed? Yesterday, a research team tied to Quest dropped IQuest-Coder v1. It's a 128K context, depth-friendly API, and benchmark scores that claim it outperforms the giants. But here is the twist: Hacker News is already calling foul. So, is this the open source breakthrough everyone's been waiting for, or the most convincing benchmark illusion we have ever seen? They've shared a few benchmarks, a paper, and various formats coming out with this model. Let's rewind this for a second because context here matters. If you write code for a living in 2026, you already know the hierarchy, right? Claude Sonnet 4.5 and GPT 5.1 are the default kings of coding models. They are the ones handling massive refactors. They are the ones reasoning across entire repos, the ones teams actually trust in production. And open source, well, open source usually shows up close, impressive demos, great promise, but just slightly behind when things get real. That's why open source wins at coding is such a rare sentence and everyone is skeptical. Apparently, coding models are brutal to get right. They require long context, they require nuanced reasoning, they require training data that doesn't accidentally leak benchmark solution. Now, add one more twist. This model didn't come from a random GitHub handle, it came from a research group tied to Quest. Quest isn't some no-name lab. They've funded serious infra projects, they've backed real AI research before. So when they quietly drop a paper and code release saying we outperform Claude Sonnet 4.5 and GPT 5.1 on multiple coding benchmarks, people pay attention. Because in AI right now, benchmarks basically decide reality, but benchmarks also lie sometimes, and we are well aware of that. And once you see which benchmarks IQuest-Coder beats them on, the story gets a bit different. So, what exactly is IQuest-Coder? At a high level, it's an open source coding focused large language model, 128K context window, native repo level reasoning, and a dev-friendly API instead of good luck compiling this release. It's licensed in a way that actually lets companies experiment without talking to legal for 6 weeks. The target use cases are clear: large code bases, multi-file refactories, understanding unfamiliar repos, not just autocomplete, actual reasoning. Now, here is where things get spicy. In the PDF, the team claims, let me open it up. It claims that it beats these two models we are talking about, and that's actually impressive because code completion benchmarks, algorithmic reasoning tasks, repo level understanding tasks, long context code navigation, and not by a tiny margin. In some charts, the gaps are large enough that people did double checks. Like, wait, did they label the axes wrong? Level of gaps? That's when early adopters stepped in. A few senior engineers started testing iCloud-Coder in real projects, private repos, messy legacy code, the exact places benchmarks usually fail to predict performance. And some of them said that this is actually good. That's when optimism peaked. But right when people started celebrating, Hacker News flipped the entire narrative. This is where the mood changed fast. Hacker News didn't just criticize the model, they dissected the benchmarks. First accusation was that the benchmark selection they had. Second accusation was the prompt leakage, and the third one was fine-tuning contamination. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Coding benchmarks are easy to game when engineers tested IQuest-Coder on tasks that involved understanding long files, tracking variables usage across modules, reasoning through unfamiliar repos. It actually held up. Where it struggled was creative problem solving, novel algorithms, ambiguous specs. And so Did IQuest-Coder beat everything? Did it win a very real, very narrow battle that matters to a lot of developers? The practical answer from my perspective is that you should seriously try IQuest-Coder to get today if you work on large, messy repos, you need long context reasoning more than creative coding, you are cost sensitive or want vendor independence, you care about inspectable open behavior. Now, who should stick with Sonnet or GPT? If you rely on high level architectural suggestion, novel algorithm design, ambiguous product requirements, you have to zoom out because open source models are no longer almost there. They are starting to win specific valuable niches. Open source stacks compound fast. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think IQuest-Coder is legit or is they just benchmark hype with good marketing? If you've tested it in a real repo, drop your results in the comments. And yes, I'm doing a follow-up. I want next to run IQuest-Coder in a real repo against Sonnet, and I won't touch the prompts. Side-by-side IDE setup. If you want to see that head-to-head, hit like, subscribe, and turn notifications on because the next test might be one that settles this argument for real. This is what I plan to do next. Thank you for watching.